The Amazon rainforest was not a place for the weak. For centuries it had earned the name the Green Hell, swallowing explorers, hunters, and dreamers alike. Time, those who entered too deep often never returned. Aram Khan had heard all the warnings before he stepped off the small wooden boat onto the muddy riverbank. He was young, 27 tall, restless, with eyes full of ambition. Born in Karachi but raised on stories of lost worlds and ancient creatures, Aham was not like ordinary men. Time, he was chasing something greater than gold or glory. He carried with him a weathered leather journal, a compass, a survival knife, and a camera strapped around his neck. Time, his goal was simple: to document the mysteries of the Amazon. But his heart carried a wilder hope, the rumor that deep within the forest, hidden in valleys no satellite had mapped, lived beasts thought lost to time itself. The villagers of Puerto Esperanza had tried to stop him. Old women shook their heads and whispered. Children pointed at him with wide eyes. Time and the shaman, a man wrapped in red beads and feathers, placed a hand on Arham's shoulder and said, "Do not go where the trees roar at night. That is the land of the forgotten ones." Time, even God has left it untouched. But Arham only smiled politely. He had grown up hearing ghost stories around fires too. Every jungle had legends. Every culture had its monsters. Science was his weapon. Exploration was his faith. Still, when night came and the Amazon sang its endless symphony of chirps, screeches, and distant roars, time, even Arham's confidence wavered. On his first night, he made camp near the river, lighting a small fire. The air was thick, almost liquid, pressing against his skin. Mosquitoes whined. From the blackness beyond the flames came the cries of unseen creatures, monkeys, birds, frogs. Yet one sound rose above them all. It was deep. Time, it was powerful, and it did not belong to any creature Aram knew. A low, thundering roar rolled across the jungle, shaking the ground beneath him. It was not close, but it was not far either. Aram froze, pen clutched in his journal. Writing quickly before the memory could fade, he heard a sound, like a lion's roar, but deeper, earth-shaking. Time, almost mechanical in its power. Could it be thunder, or something else? The fire pot. Something splashed in the river. The roar faded into silence, leaving only the insect hum. Time, sleep did not come easy that night. The next morning, Arham pushed deeper into the jungle. Vines hung thick as ropes. Trees soared like green towers. Time, and shafts of light broke through the canopy in golden columns. He hacked through with his machete, sweat dripping. The air so heavy it felt like he was swimming instead of walking. Time, then he found them. Footprints in the soft mud of the jungle floor, pressed deep as though by something impossibly heavy. They were not jaguar prints. They were not human. They were three-toed, each the size of a man's chest, sunk nearly a foot into the ground. Arm crouched, tracing the outline with his hand. His heart pounded. "No, it can't be," he whispered. But his mind screamed the truth. They were identical to the fossilized tracks he had studied in museums. The tracks of a theropod dinosaur. Tyrannosaurus, the legend might be real. The land that time forgot. The further Arham traveled, the stranger the jungle became. The insects were larger, their wings flashing with unnatural colors. Ferns grew as tall as men, and every so often he swore he could hear the trees themselves groaning, as though something vast brushed past them. At dusk he set camp again. This time he climbed halfway up a massive cedar tree, building a hammock and tying himself securely. Time, down below, the jungle floor was too dangerous. His instinct screamed that predators roamed it. The night was restless. From his high perch, time, he saw movement in the moonlight, a herd of something moving through the trees. At first he thought they were elephants, but elephants did not have long, whip-like tails. Time, elephants did not walk on two legs, massive yet balanced, their heads rising above the ferns like towers. His breath caught. A family of sauropods. Time, their necks stretching to nibble at the canopy, their footsteps shaking the earth. Their skin glistened like whetstone, patterned in green and brown to blend with the jungle. No. Arham's eyes widened with awe. He scribbled furiously in his journal, sketching their shapes, their movements. He was seeing history come alive. Time, a lost world preserved by the Amazon's endless heart. But wonder quickly turned to terror, because something else was watching them too. From the shadows, time, a pair of glowing eyes glinted. A shape moved silently, muscles rippling beneath scales. The predator was massive, nearly as tall as the smaller sauropods, its head low. Time, its body coiled with deadly grace. Aram recognized it instantly, a carnivore hunter, a Tyrannosaurus rex, the king of beasts. The air vibrated with its low growl as it stepped forward, jaws lined with teeth the size of knives. The herd panicked, crashing through the trees with earth-shaking force. But one young sauropod stumbled, slow, clumsy. The T-Rex lunged. The jungle exploded with sound, screams of prey, the roar of the predator. Time, trees splitting as the king tore into flesh. Blood sprayed across the leaves. Arham covered his mouth, heart hammering, fighting the urge to cry out. It was brutal, primal. Time, the law of nature untouched by time. And then the T-Rex paused. Its head swung slowly, its nostrils flared, it sniffed the air. Aram froze. He knew what was happening. Time. The king had caught his scent. The predator's gaze turned toward the ceiba tree, toward the trembling man hidden in the branches. For the first time in his life, Arham felt the true meaning of fear, not the fear of death, but the fear of being erased, swallowed by something far greater, far older than himself. The T-Rex roared, shaking the night sky, a sound so powerful Arham nearly lost his grip and fell. The jungle was not a jungle anymore. It was a graveyard of time, and Arham had trespassed where he was never meant to walk. The T-Rex stood still for a moment, its massive head swaying side to side, nostrils flaring. Arham clutched the branch above him, his knuckles white, every nerve in his body screaming. The jungle went silent. Even the insects seemed to hold their breath. Then, with terrifying speed, the predator let out a ground, shattering roar and charged toward the base of the ceiba tree. The earth quaked under its thunderous steps. Bark splintered as its massive skull slammed against the trunk. The tree shuddered violently, sending Arham swinging his hammock like a rag doll. Time yo Allah, Arham whispered under his breath, heart pounding. He pulled himself higher into the branches, but he knew if the beast wanted him, no tree would save him. The T-Rex snapped his jaws at the trunk, teeth shearing bark like paper, leaving gouges deep enough to bury a hand. Suddenly, another roar shook the night. Time. This one came from the river. The T-Rex froze, its massive head turning, eyes narrowing toward the source of the challenge. The ground trembled again, time water splashing violently as a new predator emerged. From the moonlit waters rose a towering sail-shaped silhouette, a Spinosaurus. Taller than the T-Rex, longer in body, time. Its crocodilian jaws glistened with river water and hunger. Its massive claws scraped the mud as it stepped onto the bank, bellowing a call that echoed like thunder across the canopy. The king of land had met the tyrant of water. Arham clung to the tree, eyes wide with both terror and awe. He was about to witness a battle that had never been seen by human eyes. Two apex predators from different worlds colliding. The T-Rex roared first, stepping forward, time muscles rippling. The Spinosaurus answered with a screeching bellow, swinging its massive claws. Then, with earth-shaking fury, they collided. The jungle exploded in chaos. Trees snapped like twigs under their weight. The ground split with every step. The T-Rex lunged, jaws clamping onto the Spinosaurus's arm, tearing flesh. The Spino shrieked in pain, countering with a swing of its claws that raked deep across the Rex's chest. Blood splattered the leaves. Arham covered his ears as the roars blasted through his skull. Time louder than thunder, primal and unstoppable. His heart raced so violently he feared it might burst. The Spinosaurus pushed forward, forcing the T-Rex against the ceiba tree. Time. Arham nearly lost his grip as the trunk cracked under the pressure. The Rex thrashed, snapping at its rival's throat. The two beasts locked together. Time. Titans of an ancient war reborn in the Amazon night. But Arham's survival instinct screamed. If he stayed, the tree would fall, and he would be crushed in their fury. With shaking hands, he cut the rope holding his hammock, grabbed his journal and knife, and began climbing higher until the leaves shielded him. Below, the clash raged on. Time. The T-Rex managed to twist free, slamming its head into the Spino's side. The Spinosaurus staggered, roaring, before countering with a bite that clamped down on the Rex's tail. The Rex bellowed in rage and spun, knocking its rival into the river with a massive crash. Water erupted into the air, raining down like a storm. For a moment, silence fell. Then the river churned violently as the two monsters vanished beneath its black depths, locked in death's embrace. The jungle was still again. Time. Arm clung to the tree, his entire body trembling, sweat pouring down his face. His mind screamed at him, "You shouldn't be here. You're not supposed to see this." Time, but another voice deeper inside whispered, "You are making history. You are the witness of a forgotten world." He stayed awake the entire night. Time, staring at the dark river where the Titans had fallen. He did not know which had survived, or if either had. But he knew this: the Amazon was not a jungle. It was a time machine. He was trapped inside it. Dawn came slowly, the jungle painted gold as the sun pierced the canopy. Mist curled over the river, thick and ghosty, hiding what might lurk beneath. Arham descended cautiously from the ceiba tree, his legs still shaking. Every step he took, he expected to hear another roar, but the jungle seemed calm, almost too calm. Time, as though holding its breath after the battle of the night, he pushed deeper into the forest, driven by equal parts fear and fascination. Time, his journal was nearly full of sketches and notes, footprints, predators, the clash of titans. Proof of the impossible, proof of a world thought lost. Hours later, he stumbled into something that made him forget even his fear. A valley. The trees opened suddenly, revealing a sunlit basin cradled by steep cliffs. A waterfall tumbled into a wide lagoon at its heart. The air shimmered with warmth, alive with sounds unlike any he had heard before. And within that valley moved life from another age. Arham's jaw dropped. His pen nearly slipped from his fingers. Dozens, no hundreds, of creatures roamed freely. Massive sauropods lumbered gracefully, their necks swaying like towers as they stripped leaves from the tallest trees. Herds of triceratops moved cautiously in groups. Time, their horns gleaming in the sun as young calves played between them. Packs of smaller predators darted through the ferns, their calls sharp and bird-like. Above it all, pterosaurs soared, their wings casting shadows that glided across the ground like ghosts. It was an entire ecosystem, untouched by time. Aram fell to his knees, overwhelmed by awe. This is it, he whispered. The land that time forgot. He sketched furiously, hand trembling, trying to capture everything. The curve of a tail, the glint of scales. Time, the ripple of wings in the sky. He filmed what he could with his camera, though he feared the battery would die long before he escaped. Yet even in his wonder, fear called in his stomach, because predators ruled here too. At the edge of the valley he saw them, a pack of raptors, their bodies lean and muscular, eyes burning with intelligence. They hunted in silence, moving through the ferns with deadly precision. He watched as they ambushed a young triceratops calf, their claws flashing as they leapt, bringing the creature down with terrifying efficiency. The calf's cries echoed across the valley. Its herd turned, charging to defend. Time, and the raptors scattered into the undergrowth, vanishing like shadows. Aham's breath came fast. He realized something chilling. This was not a zoo, not a sanctuary. Time, this was nature, raw and merciless. If he was discovered, he would not survive a moment. Suddenly, a sharp cry rang overhead. Aram looked up, and his blood ran cold. One of the pterosaurs had spotted him. Its wings beat furiously as it screeched, circling lower. Its beak was long, jagged, made for tearing. Shit, Aram muttered. Time, scrambling back into the cover of the trees. The creature dived, wings slicing the air, but Aram rolled into the brush at the last second. Its talons tore through the ground where he had stood. The pterosaur shrieked in frustration, wheeling back into the sky. Aham pressed himself flat against the dirt, heart pounding. Time, he could not stay in the open. He had to escape this valley before he became part of its eternal cycle of life and death. But as he crawled through the foliage, he felt eyes watching him. Slowly he turned his head, and there, not 10 feet away, crouched a raptor. Its yellow eyes locked onto his, unblinking. Time, its sickle-shaped claw tapped softly against the dirt. Saliva dripped from its teeth as it tilted its head, studying him. Aham didn't move. He didn't breathe. The raptor hissed softly, and then it called, a sharp, chittering sound that echoed through the jungle. From the shadows, others answered. Aham's blood turned to ice. Time, he was not facing one, he was surrounded. The raptor's hiss sliced through the humid air like a blade. Aham's lungs burned as he forced himself not to breathe too loudly, not to move a muscle. 3 more stepped from the shadows, their bodies rippling with muscle, eyes locked on him like hungry demons. One slinked to the left, another to the right, tightening their circle. Aham's instinct screamed run, but his mind, sharp with the cold logic of survival, knew the truth. If he ran, he would be torn down in seconds. Raptors were not just predators. They were hunters of precision, killers that thought as one. Slowly, carefully, he slipped his hand into his bag. Time. His fingers brushed metal, his flare gun. He had carried it for emergencies, never dreaming this would be the moment. The leader raptor crouched lower, muscles coiled like springs. Its eyes glowed with bloodlust. Not like this, Aham whispered under his breath. I won't die like this. The raptor lunged. Aham whipped the flare gun up and fired. A burst of blazing red shot into the sky with a crack like thunder. The jungle lit with firelight. The raptors screeched, recoiling, blinded and disoriented by the sudden explosion of color and heat. Aram didn't wait. He ran. Branches whipped his face, roots tore at his boots. Time. But he sprinted through the undergrowth with every ounce of strength he had left. Behind him, the raptors shrieked, regrouping, their claws slashing the dirt as they gave chase. Time, the jungle became a blur of green and shadow. His heart hammered so violently he thought it would burst from his chest. Then he heard it, a roar, not the shrill cries of the raptors. Time, not the screech of pterosaurs. A deeper earth-shaking bellow that froze the pack mid-chase. The ground trembled, trees shook, and from the valley floor, Time rising like a nightmare-given flesh, came the Tyrannosaurus Rex, its massive head turned, jaws dripping with water from the river it had crawled out of. Time, its wounds from the Spinosaurus battle still blood, but its fury had not diminished. The raptors scattered instantly, vanishing into the foliage. Time, predators they were, but they knew the king when they saw him. Aram, however, was not so lucky. The Rex's eyes locked onto the lone human stumbling through the clearing. Time, where the sound ripping through the trees like the cry of the earth itself. Birds exploded from the canopy in terrified flocks. Aram ran. Time, but each thunderous step of the beast closed the distance effortlessly. Its breath was hot against his back, rancid with blood. Time, he broke through the foliage and nearly fell down a steep cliff. Below, the river thundered, frothing with white rapids. He was trapped. The T-Rex emerged from the trees. Giant towering above, each step shaking the ground, it lowered its head, jaws opening wide enough to swallow him whole. Aham's mind raced. His flare gun was empty. His knife was useless. Tani's camera, his journal. proof everything he had seen meant nothing if he died here, the Rex lunged. Arham leapt. For a heartbeat, the world froze, the ground vanishing beneath him, the beast's jaws snapping shut where he had stood. Then gravity seized him, dragging him down into the roaring waters below. The river swallowed him whole, tumbling him through waves and rocks, dragging him deeper into darkness. His body slammed against stone branches, unseen shapes. He fought to keep his head above water, gasping for air. Somehow, battered and bruised, he broke the surface near a calmer bend. Coughing, sputtering, he clawed his way to the muddy bank, collapsing in the ferns. The jungle roared behind him. The Rex billowed in frustration at the cliff's edge, unable to follow. Its roar echoed down the river, a final warning. Arham lay trembling, soaked and shivering, clutching his journal to his chest as though it were his life itself. He had survived. Days later, he stumbled back into the edge of civilization, sunburned, hollow-eyed, but alive. The villagers gasped at the sight of him, whispering prayers. Calling him a man touched by spirits. Arm said nothing at first. He simply sat, staring at the firelight, listening to the distant hum of the jungle. When he finally opened his journal, the pages were filled with sketches, notes, and descriptions so vivid they felt alive, proof of the impossible. But as he stared at them, his hands shook. He remembered the roar of the Rex, the claws of the raptors, the clash of titans. He remembered the valley, a world not meant for mankind. The shaman's words echoed in his mind. Do not go where the trees roar at night. That is the land of the forgotten ones. Even God has left it untouched. Arham closed the journal slowly. He knew what he had seen. He knew what the world would give to know it too. Fame, glory, riches beyond imagination. But he also knew the truth. Bum secrets are not meant for mankind. He rose quietly, walked to the fire, and for a long moment hesitated. Then, with trembling hands, he placed the journal into the flames. The paper curled, blackened, and turned to ash, carrying the secrets of the lost world with it. Arham stared into the fire until nothing remained. The Amazon kept its mystery. The dinosaurs remained shadows of time, and the jungle whispered once more, swallowing the echoes of the forgotten roar. Epilogue years later, in the quiet of his home. Arm sometimes woke in the night, sweating, heart pounding. In his dreams, he still heard it, that roar, that ancient earth-shaking cry of a king that refused to die. And he knew, somewhere deep in the endless green hell of the Amazon, the giants of another age still walked unseen, waiting,